Step into a world of romance and mystery with Tamora Rose. Today we're reading part 1 of chapter 13 of Child of the Wind. Jasmine just screeched when she found that snake, Jett laughed as he recounted yet another of his childhood escapades. And Father was less than pleased, especially when he realized it was an adder. Canace turned to him for the first time. "You put a viper in your sister's bed." "I didn't know it was an adder." He was defensive, but he was also pleased. She was talking to him. "At that age, I really didn't know the difference between an adder and a grass snake. I thought it was harmless. It's a miracle you or your sister wasn't bitten. You should have known better." Jett shrugged and leaned back. "Hindsight is a wonderful thing." She shook her head at him. "If my son ever touched an adder, well, I don't know what I'd do, but I'd do something. I certainly deserved the strapping I got." Now her mouth dropped open. "Your father beat you." The disapproval in her voice surprised him. "Not often, but when I deserved it, he did what any father would do." Disapproval turned to alarm. "Are you telling me that if we had a son and he disobeyed, you'd take a belt to him?" "If I had to." He didn't really understand why she was suddenly so upset. What had he said? "Oh!" Without another word, Canace stormed to her feet and rushed toward Epona, only to be sharply tugged backwards when he grabbed her skirt. She shrieked as she fell heavily into Jett's lap. "Let me go!" He held onto her struggling form with fierce determination. "Not until you tell me why you're so annoyed with me." She elbowed him in the stomach in an attempt to get away. His only response was to grunt. She twisted. He caught her. She tried to bite him. He avoided her teeth. Finally, she had to admit that she wasn't going anywhere unless and until he allowed it. Fine. She'd say exactly what she was thinking. See how he liked that? "I refuse to marry you." His brows drew together, and she became acutely aware that he was stronger than she. "Respectfully, I refuse. No one can force me to say the vows." The urge to beat it out of her was strong, but Jett resisted. "What the hell brought this on? Have you taken leave of your senses?" He might stay his hand, but he wasn't about to stay his tongue. "You think because I don't want to marry you that I've lost my mind?" Canace struggled to get away, but his arms were great steel bands around her. "Let me up, you boar!" Her elbow connected again, this time a little lower, and Jett had finally had enough. With one smooth movement, he flipped her beneath him, straddling her hips so she couldn't get away. She squealed in surprise and reached up to rake his face with her nails, but Jett caught her hands and pinned them together above her head. Now she couldn't kick him, scratch him, slap him, or bite him. Good enough. But she could still scream at him, and she opened her mouth to do just that. He could either slap her or kiss her, and his body demanded that he choose the latter option. Ignoring her struggles, he leaned down and merged his lips with hers just before her shriek could escape her mouth. She tried to fight him, even tried to bite him, but he was careful and kept his tongue and lips well away from her sharp teeth. The kiss lasted an eternity, but eventually, Jett did have to lift his head. When he did, he saw that her face was red with fury. "How dare—" The words came out a screech, so Jett lowered his lips to hers once more. This time he pressed harder, bruising her tender mouth, but he didn't care. He was enjoying himself and keeping her quiet all at the same time. That was good enough for him. When he finally pulled away, he caught her lower lip between his teeth and nibbled gently for one brief moment. She gasped into his mouth, making him grin as he raised his head enough to look into her eyes. They glittered at him, two brilliant orbs of amber shining in the afternoon light, partly in anger, partly in something else entirely. It was that something else that intrigued him, encouraged him to lower his body until he was lying on top of her. "No," she whispered. The words stopped him, but only for a moment. Though he briefly considered heeding her quiet plea, he ultimately let his teeth play along her jaw anyway. He cared more about what her body was telling him than the words coming out of her mouth. Still, he would go slow, give her time to admit that she wanted him before he claimed her. So he nipped and licked until he felt her relax beneath him. Only then did he take his hands from her wrists so he could play with her body. When one of her hands entwined itself in his hair, Jett couldn't help but chuckle. When that hand jerked sharply backward, taking his head with it, he grunted in surprise. Then her hand connected with his cheek and her knee came up between his legs. Jett turned at the last minute, only barely avoiding her deadly aim. As she sat up and scrambled backward, he could only stare at her in shock. "What did you expect?" she snapped as she put her back against the nearest tree. Feeling vulnerable with his blazing gaze upon her, she pulled her knees up and hugged them to her chest. He almost raged at her, but there was something in the way she held herself, the way she wouldn't quite meet his eyes. Her tone might tell him that she was annoyed, even angry, but everything else sent a very different message. She was afraid. Very afraid. "I'm sorry," and he was. He didn't like scaring her. "I didn't mean to frighten you. I shouldn't have kissed you." Though why that should bother her so much, he wasn't quite sure. Canace blinked at him for a moment before she realized he truly didn't understand. He thought she was angry and frightened over some imagined infraction. He really did. Unaware of her thoughts, Jett continued. "I wouldn't have touched you if I'd known you refused to—" "You think that's why I'm refusing to marry you?" she asked incredulously. "I refused before you touched me, if you'll recall." She had indeed, he realized. "Then why? You were resigned to our marriage before." Resigned is the right word for it. The words came out harsher than she had intended. She didn't want to fight. Maybe she'd do as Duncan had suggested and be honest with him. Maybe she'd just be herself. "That doesn't answer my question," Jett replied, his own voice just a little strained. With a deep sigh, Canace buried her face in her raised knees. "I just can't see myself as your wife," she mumbled. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this chapter, stay tuned for more tales of romance. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with passion and just a touch of magic.